Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Porte ISD, and thank you for being here. It is now 7:05 p.m. Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. I hereby call this meeting to order. Notice that this meeting was posted in manner required by law at 5 p.m. Friday, September 6th. The Board of Trustees of the Porte Independent School District is now convened. Let the record show that Trustee Shafi is absent tonight, but a quorum is present. As the Porte ISD Board of Trustees, every student's success is our number one priority. We are here to set goals, adopt policy, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and communicate the district's vision and success to the community. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. School board meetings are open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. However, audience participation is limited to the patron presentation portion of the meeting, and board members may not respond to those comments made in public comment section. These proceedings may be recorded, and I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking when others are speaking. At this time, will you please rise and stand for the presentation of colors led by the LaPorte ROTC. And tonight, we have right guard Cadet Corporal Kaylee Bailey, left guard Cadet Captain Aiden Trant, Texas Flag Cadet Second Lieutenant Isabel Grant, American Flag Cadet Sergeant Major Yasmin Salas. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Tonight's invocation will be given by Board of Trustee Deanne Thompson.
Lord, come to you with grateful hearts today and open minds. Please bless all who are in attendance this evening and keep us safe from harm. The blessings bestowed on our district are abundant, and we are so grateful. Watch over our meeting, and may your will be done through our board, with students always at the forefront of our minds. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Stay seated. All righty. We will now move to item 5, board recognitions, and tonight's recognitions will be presented by Director of Communications, Mr. Adam Holland.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you already know, reading is a pretty big deal around the Porte ISD, and tonight we have the pleasure of honoring 4 of our students who, during the summer, read an awful lot. In fact, they were the top readers during our annual Summer Reading Challenge. They combined for 13,500 minutes. That's several days, by the way. Let's start out first place, elementary, Hayden Walker, 4th grader, Bay Shore, 3,439 minutes. That's about 2.5 days. Second place elementary, very close race elementary, Taylor Green, fourth grade, Jenny Reed, 3,329 minutes. We move to secondary. Tara Flowers, a seventh grader at Lomax Junior High School, that's first place, with 3,635 minutes. Second place, secondary, Peyton Walker, sixth grade Baker, 3,169 minutes. And as they are preparing for the photo, we want to offer a very special thanks to the LaPorte Education Foundation and Carrare America. That's one of our partners who, through the foundation, donated Kindle reading devices to our first place winners and gift cards to both first and second. And again, thank you and congratulations.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we're going to honor several of our community partners. There are a long list of community partners who helped with our annual Fill the Bus school bus project to get school supplies for students in LaPorte ISD. This was the idea of Shay Lister with our LaPorte Police Department, and it's just blossomed over the past few years, and we're so grateful for the support of all of these organizations. Representatives from these organizations planned, promoted, and worked at the August 1st Fill the Bus event at the LaPorte Kroger, during which many different businesses and industries, area organizations, and families and individuals brought their donations of school supplies. Many of these same volunteers stuffed more than 750 backpacks with school supplies, and then worked at the inaugural Back to School Bash on August 10th at the James H. Baker 6th grade campus. At the Back to School Bash, supplies were distributed to students, and a variety of opportunities, such as free immunizations, were offered to help make the transition back to school as easy as possible for our LaPorte ISD families. So I'd like to introduce some of the people who were behind these events. First, representing the City of LaPorte and the LaPorte Police Department, Shay Lister. Some of our representatives overlap in different organizations. So, our LaPorte Emergency Management Coordinator, Johnny Morales. From our LaPorte Emergency Medical Services, we have Chief Sean Cominick. From the LaPorte Fire Department, Chief Justin Crow. Many of these individuals also serve on the LaPorte, Morgan's Point, and Shore Acres Local Emergency Planning Committee, also known as LEPC. So we have another plaque, certificate that you can just give to John with. They all serve on it. From the LaPorte Bayshore Chamber of Commerce, Jeff Martin. Woo. From Agape Centric, we have Rachel Cotton. And from the Rotary Club of LaPorte, we have Derek Meadows, who's the president of the organization. We also have several Rotarians on our board, Dr. Jackson, Mason Paris, Melissa Crutcher, and Jeff Martin. And we also would like to recognize the Bay Area Council on Drugs and Alcohol. They were unable to be here this evening. But thank you to all of you for making that.
so quiet? All right, we'll continue on and move to item 6, public comment. The board will now hear those who wish to make comments and who have completed and returned the public comment participation request. This section will be conducted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act and board policy. As such, this is a reminder that the board members may not respond to those comments made in the public comment section. Complaints and/or concerns for which other resolution channels are provided shall be directed through those channels. Mr. Martin. All right, let the record show we have no public comments, so we'll move on to item 7, our administrative reports. Dr. Jackson.
Good evening, board members, Mr. President. I'm pleased to report to you this evening that the start of the school year has been smooth and there are already many great things happening in LaPorte ISD. Students and teachers are embracing fresh opportunities and setting ambitious goals. The classrooms are abuzz with enthusiasm as new routines are established and connections are being made. Fall sports are fully underway across our district, including high school and junior high volleyball, football, water polo, cross country, and tennis. Our varsity football team, marching band and color guard, machados and cheer, and other student groups have entered their second year of playing our home games at an away stadium. At this time, we're very proud that we have been allowed to have our home games at Deer Park. I want to publicly thank the superintendent of Deer Park ISD, Mr. Harrell, and his entire staff for accommodating us this year. Our STEM program continues to grow at every campus, as does the excellent reputation of our STEM teachers. A little more than a week ago, one of our STEM facilitators was welcomed to the Honeywell STEM Hall of Fame at a Houston Astros game. Only 10 STEM educators from the greater Houston area are chosen for this honor, and this is the second such induction from LaPorte ISD. Let's give our esteemed here tonight. Did I see Miss Fanning here tonight? Okay, all right. We'll keep going. Only 10 of those folks are here. So I'm excited to announce that on Friday, we will officially enter the second year of our 4 Innovative Project launch partnership with the University of Houston Clear Lake. Last year, 125 of our 5th and 6th grade gifted and talented students participated in the program. For 24-25, there are 150 young scholars who are participating. We continue to hear positive comments in the community about the free breakfasts and lunches being available to all students this school year. The school nutrition department reports that August meal participation has increased by more than 1,800 breakfasts and 7,800 lunches compared to the same time a year ago. Offering healthy meals at no cost to every LaPorte ISD student certainly plays a huge role in this increase. However, this success is also due to the department's commitment to student-focused menu planning and a scientific approach to constant improvement. For that, we want to again offer our deepest appreciation to our child nutrition department. Let's give them a hand. Finally, board, as we keep the Appalachia, Georgia high school community close to our hearts following the recent tragedy there, we continue to prioritize safety and security in our school district. In addition to our crisis alert badges worn by all employees, security film on exterior windows, vestibule and perimeter fencing enhancements, and continuous training for everyone, there are law enforcement officers on every campus, all day, every day. Again, we owe the Board of Trustees a debt of gratitude for becoming one of the first in the area to invest in SROs at every school. On behalf of the administration, teachers, and staff, we would like to thank our board and LaPorte ISD stakeholders for your ongoing support as we continue our legacy of excellence in this 24-25 school year. That will conclude the superintendent's report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. That said, we will move on to item B, Booster Club fundraiser updates. Board, I believe everybody got a packet as well.
review of our PTA, PTO, and Booster Club manual and guidelines. So how does LPISD support our clubs? We hold an annual meeting to review our manual, answer any questions, and discuss best practices, especially related to cash handling. We had a meeting this past August 6th. It was attended by 48 parents, principals, and club officers. We have 23 boosters, PTA, and PTO clubs, and they can contact, we have 3 designated people in our business office, myself, our Director of Finance, George Crandall, and then our accountant, Cheryl Wood, so they have all of our contact information to contact us anytime. And also we have documentation that's on the web. So our PTA/Booster Club manual is available on our business office website, and this is the different pieces that we have, different documents that are there, examples of the forms we need, our meeting information, and actually the PowerPoint, the Booster Club PowerPoint meeting presentation that was given in August. And we gave them the QR code so they could easily go in and scan it and take them straight to this point. So let's discuss the role of what a PTA, PTO Booster Club is. So the role of these type of clubs is to support the campus and the students in a consistent manner that adheres to LaPorte ISD's, what our philosophies and our objectives are. It is to work with the campus administration and program sponsors to determine what the actual needs are of the students, and also to understand that they are a separate financial entity. They are not a part of LPISD, but everything they do reflects back on LPISD. So must-haves to be one of these clubs. You must have bylaws. So these are different rules of how your operation is going to operate. We give them examples of bylaws that they can use and make into their own, so they don't have to start from scratch. They must have an annual election of officers, so the president, it cannot be an employee of the district. You're a vice president, secretary, and then also the treasurer cannot be an employee of the district. They must have their own tax ID number with the IRS, so you cannot use ours because, again, you're a separate legal entity. They must have their own bank account, and they need to be a 501c3 tax exempt to be able to do certain things, such as raffles. So when they meet, they should have already had a conversation with the campus. The campus administrator should be, or the school sponsor should be present at those meetings. If they're going to meet at the campus, they needed to already schedule that out with the administration of that campus. Minutes need to be taken by the secretaries. Financial statements should also be provided to the members by the treasurer at each meeting. And the whole purpose of these meetings is to discuss the need of the students and what that program needs. It's not what the Booster Club needs. It's what the campus and the students need. So cash handling. Obviously, we want to put great emphasis on cash handling because, as we know, we've read the news, that is how clubs such as these get in trouble. So we want to provide them as much information as possible on how to do this as diligently as possible. So cash and checks, they should be deposited immediately. They should not store any kind of cash in an officer's home for a long period of time. So once you get that cash, deposit it. 2 people need to count the funds. So if I'm going to count the funds and I come up to 100 and I count, Dr. Bromley counts, he comes up to 98, we're going to recount again, both of us, until we get to the right number. And it's also just a liability issue. You don't want anyone to ever doubt your integrity as a person when you're in one of these roles. Clubs can accept credit cards as a form of payment, and we say that we recommend that just to keep things as clean as possible. So how to protect your organization and your name. Never keep cash at the treasurer's home. Like I said before, deposit it. Have 2 people count the money and then sign receipts saying, yes, I counted to 100, Dr. Bromley counted to 100. If you are going to write checks, require 2 signatures on a check so that 2 people know what's actually going in and out of that bank account. Never sign a blank check or make a check out to cash. And pay all your bills by check, never by cash, so that you can have a record of it. And also conduct an annual audit. There are different programs, different groups. I think there's a boosterclub.org. There's all these different groups that can help you for a small fee. They'll do your financial statements for you. They will do your reporting of taxes in the year and all the different IRS forms that are required. And what we've heard is that some of these boosters are actually taking advantage of that and helping them move forward and get in line with the rules and regulations that are set forth to them. So fundraising. So when one of these clubs decide that they are going to hold a fundraising, it needs to be coordinated and approved by the campus administrator or school sponsor, because again, these clubs are separate from the campus. So what we don't want to happen are two fundraisers happening at the same time. One for the campus is going to hold for their own reasons, and then one also that perhaps a PTO or a booster club is holding, because it's inundating to the parent, correct? Or you know, if you have 3 kids, you have 3 different campuses, and you've got 15 going on, you know, it's hard to know where you want to spread the wealth. They must be approved for a purpose. So you don't just raise funds to raise funds. Like, you have to have a specific purpose of what is this money going to go to. So club officers, at the beginning of the year, the club officers and the campus administration or that sponsor for that club, they should meet with the booster clubs, and come up with a wish list of what is actually needed for that year. What are the goals for that year that they're going to raise the money for? And then campuses, but also the booster clubs are allowed 2 fundraisers per semester, so that's 4 in total that they can have. And 2 of those are tax-free. Continuous fundraisers can be done at the same time as any other fundraiser. So, and we'll talk about that later when we get to a couple of slides later.
Before we leave that slide, can we go back? So it says must be coordinated and approved by the campus administrator or school sponsor. Do we run into issues because we are pretty much separating ourselves from them? They are their own legal entity. So if they're not doing a fundraiser on campus, are we really allowed to say it can be approved? We've ever run into that issue? Advisement maybe?
It would not be recommended to have 2 going at the same time. A spirit night is not the same thing as a fundraiser. But if I'm selling chocolate for, perhaps my school is going to sell chocolate, and then I'm going to also have another type of fundraiser that's going on at the same time where they're reaching out to the parents. It doesn't matter if it's at the campus or not. They're reaching out to the parents and saying, hey, we need your support. And that is overwhelming for a parent. That financially it's overwhelming to them, and just it puts a bad vibe that perhaps.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with
Yeah.
that. I just wasn't sure that since they're their own entity, we were able to tell them what
They
they can and can't.
they are their own legal entity. However, the goal of that club is to support Porte ISD and support the students and the campuses of Porte ISD. So it would behoove them to work together and not go against each other and try to fundraise and then the parents going to have to choose which one are they going to. Does that
But
answer
also
your
it
question?
prevents the,
Inundating the community.
Or
I'm
you've
not
got that-
disagreeing with the idea
No,
that it's a good idea. I'm just saying I don't think that that's
also you have to be mindful
legal
of,
of us to say you have to be approved for doing this thing.
well, it's because of the legality in terms of, for example, the LPSN channel can't advertise any tobacco products, suicide, guns, anything like that. We've had organizations that have tried raffles of a weapon where you can't do that. So those are the type of things that's supposed to
May
protect, right?
interact, Chris.
Chris? Did it work? It did work.
Yes, sir.
So that's a good question, and it's something that comes up a lot. A lot of these are UIL rules that they've established. Because they are a separate entity, you don't have the direct right to say to them, do X, Y, and Z. What you do have is the right to say to them is, if you don't play by these rules, we won't take your money. Because they only exist to coordinate with you.
And use our brand. because
Right, and use your brand and
the
everything
brand
else,
is
and
the
be
most
recognized by the
important part,
district.
You know,
So it's sort of a symbiotic relationship, but that's the reason why you have the ability to tell them, because at the end of the day, particularly with respect to fundraising and donations, if they do it wrong, it could cost some team their eligibility, and that happens. And so you know they want to make sure they play by the right rules that UIL and the district and everybody else has established, so that they don't jeopardize an individual or a team in terms of particularly when it comes to money.
And this presentation is built with the UIL in mind, because all of this is coming from there. It's even if it's not, if it's a booster club, I mean, if it's a PTA, PTO, that's not a UIL situation. these are the guidelines that are across the board.
I just didn't want us to get in some sort of trouble by saying, no, no, thank you, we already have two.
How long have we required them to have their own bank accounts? You said,
I'm sorry?
you said made a comment, take their money, but they have their own accounts,
They
right?
do
Is that
have
a new policy?
No, it's not a new policy.
So how did it work a couple years since I've been on board? We had an issue with money getting siphoned off some of our booster club accounts. And I was under the impression that it was going to like a master fund.
No,
Not the
they've
case.
always kept their own bank account.
It was a couple of officers get together and decide who's gonna be able to sign off on checks and things when that happens.
That's when that tends to happen, yeah. Somebody associated with the school is handling
Get
the
off in
money.
the weeds on this, but it was multiple booster clubs that had money taken from them. So, but you're saying it doesn't go to any kind of
It does not go into a district bank account
At all.
At all.
No.
Never have.
That was, yes, and we can discuss that, that's probably, we can discuss that after, yes. That was not a booster club, so you are correct on that, that was campus funds, but that was a different situation. Yes, sir, and I'll, if we can, I will get back with you on that, yes, sir. Absolutely, always. And we do that in campuses, like the rules that we have right here are what the secretaries are doing at the campuses, what everyone who is touching money has two people counting it. Did that answer your question? Okay. Okay, so the IRS, continue on with fundraisers. IRS prohibits tax exempt organizations from requiring people to participate in fundraisers. So just because, let's just say the football is gonna have a fundraiser, the football players are not required to participate in that. They still get to benefit from anything that the Booster Club does. Clubs cannot require people to donate in lieu of funds. So saying, you don't have to sell this chocolate that's paid me $500, not but $50, and you don't have to sell this bucket of chocolate. They can't require anyone to do that. If a person chooses not to participate, their child cannot be excluded from the fundraiser, so they cannot be penalized. So it's for the good of all. Anything a fundraiser fundraises and donates to the campus, it is for that club, it's for the good of all. It cannot go into an individual's account. The fundraiser profits are used for the entire group and not for an individual. So, and that's kind of a conversation that we've had in the past. So so let's just say a group is gonna go on a trip, right? And we know that this is the bottom line, it's gonna cost $10,000 for these kids to go to a trip. So the Booster Club can donate, they can raise funds to go to that trip, put the money towards whatever they've fundraised for, and it decreases the amount, so maybe now it's only $5,000 that's now divided out over the cost of the students. That's correct. It's not Stacy's child earned $500 gonna go towards her trip. Okay? Raffles and bingo. So that for a Booster Club or a PTA and PTO to actually be able to have a raffle and bingo / bingo, they must, the funds collected are not distributed to a board member or officer except to reimburse the accrued expenses. So let's have a purse bingo. I'm gonna go buy that purse. I'm gonna get reimbursed for that purse because that's coming out of my money, but anything that's raised from that's not coming back to me. It's only what I paid for the good. The club has to be in existence for at least 3 years, and it cannot lobby for legislation and be part of elections, and it has to have your 501c3 to be able to do a raffle or a bingo. A school district, we absolutely cannot have, it's against the law for us to conduct a raffle or a bingo game with the purpose of raising money. So a qualified club can have 2 raffles a year, so that could count as 2 of their 4 fundraisers. And any raffle or bingo that is held must be advertised as the club event. So I put, hello Band Booster, I put, it has to be LPHS Band Booster Club, not LPHS Band. It has to be advertised as the Booster Club is doing this. Okay. So now we get to kind of frequently asked questions that come up. So can a PTA or PTO accept credit cards? Absolutely. In fact, we recommend it, but they cannot go and have their own credit card. They can use their debit card, because that's just like check, but they cannot go and get a Visa or MasterCard. Can I purchase anything I want to help the campus or student organization? No, you really cannot. You should not. You shouldn't want to. You need to meet with the campus principals and their sponsors and figure out what's the actual needs. What are the wish lists? Because they're the ones who are they're boots on the ground. They know what's going on. They need to be informed. Can they use the district ID and tax exempt status? No. You are your own federal entity. You have to have your own number. These are questions that after our very first meeting last year, these are the questions that I got. So it's kind of why they're frequently asked. So can I loan PTO booster club money to an individual in need? No. It has to be, you don't use this, it's not your personal bank account, it's not an IOU, you don't stick the money in there and say, I'm gonna pay it back tomorrow. And that is why it's really important to have financial statements given out at each board meeting, what the check reconciliation is. If you see cash on there, what are these things? Have a question. It's okay to question. So I'm an employee of the district. Can I be on it? Yes, you absolutely can, but you cannot be the treasurer or the president. So does my Pizza Friday count as one fundraiser or multiple fundraisers? It's one fundraiser that's over all year. So you can have that all year long. Supper with Santa is a separate, because it's a one time a year, it's a one big event that counts. Are spirit nights considered fundraisers? No, they are donations. You're asking people to go to Jimmy Chonkins. You're asking people to go to Gringos, or Chick-fil-A, whatever, and then whatever up to that point, it's donated to your campus. So you can have as many of those as you possibly want. It is not a fundraiser. Why can we only have 4 fundraisers per year? So the rule of 4 per year and 2 per semester, so as we've discussed, the parents don't feel overwhelmed by constantly being asked to give. Because many parents have many kids and many different programs, and so it can absolutely become overwhelming to them.
And ultimately hurt all of the groups because they may not help
If
any
right.
if you get overwhelmed with them.
Absolutely. That is the end of my presentation. Can I answer any questions for you?
One more.
Sure.
May have to look into this. Can a board member be the president or secretary, even though an employee can't?
Yes, they are not an employee of the
That's
district.
right, I didn't know if there was any rules. That's what I meant, sorry.
Yes, they are not an employee of the district, so
Need to get on.
if they choose to do that, you absolutely can.
I would never choose to do that.
Signed you up already?
Yeah.
There you go.
Zudo Rocket.
Are there any other questions that I can answer for you?
I guess, I was a question, more of a comment. I guess the only gray area for me is, I agree as a parent of elementary kid, I love that they would limit it on the school level, because you do get hit with all the books, there's 100 things at elementary
Yes.
schools, right? But I'll say that not all clubs are equal. I'd say a booster can be different than a PTO, PTA. It might necessarily go after the parents. It might be a community fundraiser, right? Or, let me give you an example, like the Education Foundation. So they house out of the admin building. They use our image likeness. They do a phenomenal job for our district. But we're not gonna hold them to the same account as us, right? Like, they can go out and do, because they have their own bylaws, their own entity, own organization. They can go to 5 or 6 fundraisers a year. And so to me, there's some gray area here. You talk about Spirit Nights. Every single time I've ever been part of Spirit Night, it's advertised as a fundraiser. So I think there's just some gray area on the language, the lingo we use.
Well, it is a fundraiser. I mean, they're raising funds, but it ends up being a donation, so it doesn't count against the 4.
And that's
So,
the language of the
It's
marketing.
the language of the marketing,
Of the
yes, sir.
company that's hosting.
Right.
So
And
I mean,
what
that's
we
my
did,
point. Like, so part of education, or the foundation, any of these people, so part of education, we got companies that are multiple times a year gonna donate, give me a $10,000 check. We're always gonna take that check
sure.
on the admin level, but we're not allowing some of these clubs to come in and do the same thing.
No, if they get a donation, they can absolutely give a donation. That's not a fundraiser.
So is it semantics, like we just call all the fundraising donations?
No. If I am by myself, I'm not purchasing anything from you.
All right?
That's a donation. I just want to give you my $500 because I want to support the cause.
But I think there's a lot of fundraisers that are like that. Some of them
Then-
are selling goods.
Then that's a donation. That's
So
it.
the-
Like, if I'm not buying, if I'm not physically getting anything for the money that I'm giving you, that's a donation.
Okay, so this is what I'm hearing is there's a lot of workarounds, like this is, I mean, we have this in place, but really there's a lot of loopholes and areas that we can go around. If you're a booster club in the audience, you can figure out kind of how to work around a lot of these things by what you call it, or how to get the donations, right? I mean,
Yeah, a lot of it's gonna be people just not having an understanding. I can tell you, I did sit, I was an officer in a school board, on a booster club for a little while, and, only in the last couple of years since you've come in and pushed this, which is great. It needed to be cleaned up because there was a lot of confusion and
Right.
rows
last year was the first year that
Right.
we said, okay, look, that, these are laws, guys. Like, these are
Yeah.
things that they're really important.
Not only
And that we
laws, but
value.
best practices
It's
too.
best practices
Because we're
and
not
it's-
the only school district that's
Absolutely
following
not.
this.
We were one of the only who didn't. And so, it was really important. I had this conversation with Dr. Jackson. I really felt that it was important for us to get in line with our neighbors, with everyone else, because, it's what's right. You do what's right, right? So, last year was our very first one. So we gave a year of leeway, like, hey, this is coming at you. You've never really kind of heard this before. We're not gonna say yay or nay this year. This is a learning experience. We had another one this past August. You've had a year to learn. We've been here. All of this information has been available to you online. You have all of our contact information. Reach out to us. We can help guide you. We have helped guide them. We're happy to. So, but yes, I would, instead of saying loopholes and semantics, I would say it's not gray area because it is what it is. Like you have an opportunity to do it this way, or you have an opportunity to do it this way. Both are right. You can both do right. There's not an issue with either one. Is there anything else that I can help y'all with?
Good.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
y'all
ma'am.
very much.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to item C, academics and teacher incentive allotment. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening, Board. President Haynes, Dr. Jackson, I want to give you a brief update on academics in the court. I'd like to start with a little history, if you will, and a reminder about where we were in 2022. It's been a minute since we've had an accountability rating released in the state of Texas. But in 2022, our official accountability rating was a B, and we were at an 87. We were very, very proud of that. Since that accountability rating was released, we've had a lot of changes and a lot of challenges that we've been navigating with our accountability system. Since the 2022 accountability rating, we have gone through an entire refresh of our accountability system, and there were several changes that were put in place for the 2023 accountability year. And this refresh allowed the state to reimagine how district ratings would be calculated beginning with the 2023 school year. So what I want to talk about a little bit, just quickly, is how that accountability calculation has changed. What hasn't changed are the domains that make up the calculation. So we continue to have these three pieces of the accountability domain. So the first piece, of course, is number one, better of either achievement or progress. So that hasn't changed. So if the student achievement scores for a campus or a district are higher, or if the school progress or growth measure is higher, it'll take one or the other, whichever is higher of the two, as 70% of that calculation. And then 30% of the calculation comes from that closing the gaps, which is that federal accountability piece, and how are we ensuring that our historically underperforming groups are demonstrating improved performance. So that counts for 30% of the calculation. So those pieces have not changed. But even though the overall calculation structure of the accountability has not changed, there were three big changes that did affect the way that scores were calculated that I just want to talk through real quick. The first one is the way that campuses weight toward district accountability. So if you recall, back in 2022, when we had our B rating, every campus was weighted equally. So we put all the campus, all of them were weighted equally and divide by the number, and that was the score. But now we have a weighting system that is based on proportionality. So depending on the enrollment of that campus depends on the weight that you have in the pie, for example. So if you take a look at this pie, you'll see that LaPorte High School is representing 38% of our district's accountability because of their total enrollment. And if you think about all of the secondary campuses, the three junior highs, DeWalt and LaPorte High School, all of our secondary campuses then make up over 70% of our total district accountability. So it's all proportional compared to what it used to be. Okay, so that's big change number one. Big change number two is the way that CCMR is weighted. So CCMR means college, career, and military readiness. So if you take a look at this chart, you'll see that in between 2018 and 22, to earn an A scaled score for CCMR, you had to have 60% of your students earning that CCMR distinction or designation. In 2023, that increased to 88%. So we saw an increase in the cut point for that CCMR calculation to earn that 90. So that was a major change with CCMR weighting. And remember, part of the litigation, and correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the litigation is the fact that this changed and the cut points for this group of students had already graduated, so that had already been done. So it was ex post facto, or whatever you want to call it. Okay. And then the third big change, as we all know, that the one thing that every bit of this weighs on is the assessment that our students take. And that assessment had a complete overhaul from the 2022 school year. And we called that STAR 2.0. And so now we have this completely online assessment. We have these enhanced questions that are all technology driven. We have cross-curricular passages where students are in the reading passages or reading about science and social studies. And then there's writing for the first time ever in all grades from grades 3 through 10. So those are all big pieces that changed from 2022 that impact how our accountability shakes out of the tree, if you will. Okay? So in 2023, big surprise, we don't know what our accountability was. If you recall, there was some litigation in response to the way the accountability changes went out, and districts didn't have the rules before the game was played, things like that. And so we do not have our 2023 official accountability results. And I don't know if we will get them. And here we are in 2024, and we, again, even though we played the game this year, knowing the rules a little more than we did the year before, and a better handle on what the STAR 2.0 was going to look like, we talked in June about the way our students performed, and we saw across the state that the entire state of Texas saw a decline in the way our students performed across the state of Texas. So there's been a lot of change, and we still don't know what our 2024 accountability ratings are. But I do want to say that in front of you, you have the unofficial prediction that we have calculated internally based on official data files from the state of Texas. So you have the official, unofficial results in front of you. But really, truly, that is our best calculation using the data files that the state of Texas has sent us, and we feel pretty confident that's pretty good prediction of where we are, maybe plus or minus a point, but we feel like that's a pretty strong indicator of where we will be should the state of Texas ever release its official accountability ratings for us. And you can see I've organized those for you by campus groups, so that you can see how that all might look if it were official. Okay? The next thing that I want to talk about, and in addition to our TEA accountability in terms of academic performance, I want to talk about our HB3 goals. These are the goals that indicate our progress towards readiness for post-career or post-secondary readiness. And these goals are ones that were established in 2019 with your approval, and we projected, a scaffolded increase in improvement through 2025. So I want to talk to you a little bit about where we are with those goals right now. There are three primary goals with this piece of legislature. Goal number one has to do with early childhood literacy and how are we doing on track for students performing in grade 3. Our goal is the percent of third grade students will be at meets performance or above on STAR reading will increase from 53%, which is where we were in 2019 when these goals were developed. And our projection would be that in 2025, we would be on track to be at 65%. We are not currently quite where we want to be with this, and I want to remind everybody that the test changed. So it's no longer just a reading assessment. When we made these goals, it was a reading assessment. Now it's a reading and writing assessment, and so there has been a change that significantly impacts, I think, what we would have extrapolated at the time had we had that information. Goal number 2 with the HB goals is the early childhood mathematics goal, and so we want to make sure that third grade students that the percent of third grade students on track to be at meets or above in STAR math will increase from 50%, which is where we were in 2019, to 65% in 2025. And again, we are not where we want to be. And I do want to remind us that, in fact, the entire state of Texas saw a significant decline in overall scores for mathematics. So it's not just LaPorte. We've had major changes with the way that our students are being assessed in STAR and how the test looks, and we're seeing that across the board in the state of Texas. But we know that we still have some work to do in terms of mathematics. And lastly, goal 3 is college, career, and military readiness goal. The percent of graduates that will meet the criteria for CCMR will increase from 57%, which is where we were in 2019, to 75% in 2025. I'm pleased to report that we are exceeding that goal. In 2024, our actual was 85%, and we are on track to exceed that for our current group of accountability scores. I want to make note that this means that we're doing the work now. So the current graduates for 2025 and their CCMR performance will be on our 2026 accountability. So this year's accountability will be for the students that we just graduated. So it's always lagging data, and so we're always looking at what we're doing now for next year. Okay, so with this in mind, I do want to make sure that we understand that our next steps with HB goals is to make sure that we update these goals to reflect the current assessments. You know, when we made these goals, there were some different assessments in play for STAR, and so we want to make sure we update these goals to reflect the changes, and that we want to make sure we also rewrite these goals to reflect the fact that we've surpassed some of these goals and rewrite new goals. So that's the next steps for us for this. Yes, sir.
So, you do that recalibration, when you look at, go back to the board, use this as a baseline, the results we got right now, that reestablish the baseline.
Yes.
To grow.
Yes. The intention of the HB goals is to really see that our students are on track to be college ready or by the year 2030. And so what we'll do is we will reimagine these goals starting now, and we'll extrapolate them all the way to 2030 so that we see that progression through then.
That's also a test, in my opinion, that's the problem. That our system is not keeping up with it.
Yes. Yes, sir.
If we're keeping up with their changes, that means, but at least we're figuring out what changes they're asking.
Right, exactly. We've done a great job with our CCMR goal, and I know that we don't have anything official yet about our current CCMR goal, but I can tell you that we anticipate that we will have exceeded even the 85% for next year. So we're in good shape, and we're going to continue that trajectory with our student performance. Okay, so a couple things that I want to just recapture here about our focus areas based on this information. We know that math performance is a focus. It is going to be something that we really look at all grade levels this year. We're looking not only at our early progress monitoring in K2 math that leads into that 3rd grade HB measure, but also looking at our junior high math performance that has been a challenge for us, and then the development of our advanced math pathways to increase the number of advanced students and increase their scoring ability through that work. Science is also a focus area for us this year. We have new science TEKs, K through 12, and we have new science curriculum, and we have new science resources. So there's a lot of new in science this year. So that is going to continue to be a focus for us as we continue to look at what the test will look like for this next year with our new standards. Reading continues to be a focus for us. Again, really looking at those early literacy skills in K through 2. How are we progress monitoring to ensure that our students are progressing where they need to be on level by grade 3? We know that grade 3 is the measure. If students aren't reading on level by grade 3, that is a huge predictor of their future challenges. And so we want to make sure that we are really taking a look at that in K2. And then really making sure that we're aligning our curriculum and instruction to the science of teaching of reading and the strategies that are research-based as part of that work. And then lastly, as we've mentioned, the STAR assessment has changed. We have writing at every grade level, and writing continues to be a focus for us. So really making sure that we're focused on how do we move not only our students and their reading abilities to masters, but how we're really making sure that our essay scoring is increasing as we monitor, again, the lead up to that with the K2 literacy skills. And that is my update for you. Any questions for me? Yes, they do. That's right. 100%. And that starts in grade 3. So I don't remember, I know that when I was in high school, of course it was a minute ago, but my typing class was in high school. So I can't imagine a typing class in 3rd grade, but it's a different group of students, it's a different age, and they are, and there's that. And there's that. That's great. It's great advice. Yes, thank you. Any other questions?
I'm not marginalizing what we should be teaching children, but we're focusing on writing, unwriting society.
I'm certain she can. It can be a tweet. Exactly. Exactly.
Is there any way, and I know no one has a crystal ball, but just based on the adjustments the state has made, how do we get ahead of that? Like, how do we anticipate their next move?
Listen, if you can figure that out,
No,
you know,
I know it's on a cycle. There's a cycle, so to speak, and I know that they've got some long-range goals. How can we look at that, the totality of that goal, and break it up just based on the past, the historical cycles? You know, I don't know. I just true.
Can I tell you what we were really good at just 3 years ago? CCMR. And when everybody got good at that in the state, they shifted the
yes.
plan on that. And so we're going to continue to work on all of those pieces, but I'll remind the board that, and you know this, and so I say this humbly and I say this as we all know these things. Our brightest kids are ahead of that curve. Am I right, educators? Our bright kids, our G2 kids, and our kids that are above the 80th percentile, they're ahead of that curve. So they're already there. What happens is we have everybody, and we take everybody and try to lift the whole road and move everybody at the same time. And the truth of the matter is, our kids don't all come to us. Just because you're in 3rd grade doesn't mean you're reading up to the 3rd grade level. They're shared that 8th or 9th. And so we're not blaming anybody, we're not pointing any fingers. But when kids come to the 1st grade, many of them don't know the things that a 1st grader knows in some households. And so we're constantly trying to pick this group up, but also push the highest group up. So it's our brightest kids in the school district are always ahead of the state.
This thing doesn't really take into consideration that kids develop at different. And, you know, what they expect out of 1st graders is not necessarily what cognitively they're developed to do. And the state doesn't really seem to. So, I mean, that's kind of some of the problems we've had, you know, up in community with this, what they expect kids to do at that level.
Yes.
And what kids really, truly, the average kid, I'm not, like, again, they're the ones that are, they're just, it's not to say, if I have a kid, they're feeling unhealthy.
I'm sure somebody will fact check me on this, but many of our 4th and 5th graders today in 2024 are doing the work level at a grade level that we did in 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah, there's no question. There's no question.
Somebody will fact check me on
Yes.
that, but that's what our kids are being asked to do.
Correct.
So people say, why didn't you pass that test? People don't realize we're compressing that and bringing all of those standards
100%.
to lower grades, and so we're having to work differently.
You know, we're seeing that in the private sector. You're looking at classrooms that have 20 different individuals, 20 different households, 20 different incomes, all these different variables, and you're trying to get them to the same destination. And then you have to take all the classes in that grade level across all the other campuses. And it's, when you're asking a lot, and I get it, and the only reason I'm saying that is because we as a society do have to show grace, because it is such a fluid very organic thing that is happening. It's evolving. It is not stagnant. It's constantly in motion. And, you know, I applaud everybody trying to keep up with this right now. It's so complicated.
It is.
They've made this as complicated as school finance.
Oh.
I didn't think that was possible, but they
100%.
they managed to do it, and it made it very complicated.
When the manual.
Yeah. So.
But I also want to say one more time, for the record, all of this that we talk about in terms of accountability is based on one moment in time, one assessment, one day, one student's performance. It isn't a measure of the true student's ability. It is a measure of one moment in time. And heaven forbid a student comes in with a cold that day or a bad morning. I mean, none of that matters when it comes, or the anxiety of the test. None of that matters, because that whatever happens that day is what happens that day, and that's what every bit of what we do is based on that moment in time. So.
Well,
Thank you. And now I would like to introduce Dr. Rhodes. He's going to come up and talk about TIA.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Let me get everything set up here. All right, good evening, Board of Trustees, President Hanks, and Dr. Jackson. I'm here to give a brief update and overview on the implementation of the Teacher Incentive Allotment, also known as TIA. As you may recall, TIA was passed and fully state funded as part of House Bill 3 in 2019 as a pathway for teachers to earn a higher income while prioritizing student academic growth. TIA also helps keep effective teachers in our classrooms and is a recruiting tool to draw quality teachers to our district because they can potentially earn a higher salary, which also counts towards their TRS. Our TIA work began in LaPorte ISD last school year. Last fall, a TIA stakeholder committee was formed consisting of a cross-section of classroom teachers, campus administrators, and district staff. The committee met monthly, and teachers were often asked to share information back on their campuses to gain feedback the committee could use to help develop the local system. In April and May of 2024, district administrators visited each campus during staff meetings or faculty meetings to present the TIA Roadshow. During this time, all teachers were informed about TIA and how our local designation system had been developed with the committee. Time was provided for teachers to ask questions and seek clarification. Earlier this summer, our TIA application was submitted to TEA for the first step in the approval process and was approved. This gave us the green light to move forward with our Cohort 1 teachers. Last month, we held 3 informational sessions for those Cohort 1 teachers in which we provided more in-depth information about the TIA designation process and provided time for questions and thoughtful discussions. So you may be wondering which teachers are part of Cohort 1, and here they are. We have 86 teachers in the cohort, and these are teachers of record for students who will take STAR, ELAR, grades 4 through 8, grades 4 through 8 STAR Math, Algebra 1 end of course or EOC, English 1 and English 2 EOC. And again, we have 86. So there are several TIA resources available for both teachers and administrators, such as an LPISD TIA website with FAQs and an email link. Anyone, I skipped a part. Sorry about that. The components of our local designation system are composed of 2 parts, the teacher's T-test evaluation and student growth of the students the teacher instructs. There are cut scores and percentages set by the state for each of these components, And there are three possible designations: recognized, exemplary, and master teacher. Earned designations are placed on a teacher's teaching certificate for 5 years. So our cohort 1 timeline looks like this. We're actually in it right now. This school year is known as the data capture year. Data from each cohort teacher's end of year T-test evaluation, as well as their student star data from last year and this year, will be pulled this summer. This time next year, that data will be submitted to Texas Tech for data validation. This is a very important step because the validation is the second step of our whole system approval. So we anticipate that spring 2026 we'll get that final system approval and have a list of designated teachers. TEA will release funds to the district, and the payout for designated teachers will occur during the beginning of the 2026 school year. It's important to note that designated teachers will receive this payout each year for 4 additional years. So, we have several TIA resources available for both teachers and administrators, such as LPISD, our LPISD TIA website. There's a screenshot of it there. There's a frequently asked questions section, an email link that anyone can use to ask questions about the system. T-test support and calibration is of the utmost importance for our campus administrators and cohort teachers. Since last year, the entire district administration team has been calibrating together and in small groups to ensure that we are all using the T-test rubric as it is written. Calibration walks on each campus will continue this year to ensure each admin team member is calibrated throughout the year. We have also provided calibration activities that our campus leaders will use with their teachers throughout the year so that all teachers become more familiar with the scoring rubric. So, next year is already coming, cohort 2. Next up is cohort 2. We'll begin this same process, the whole process, with a new cohort of teachers, and we'll continue the cohort process until all teachers of record are eligible for TIA. And that concludes the overview. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So TEA releases the funds. So TEA will release the funds to LPISD. They get the lump sum in year 1, and then subsequent 4 more payments, correct? So if they were to leave our district, does it cease then?
So there's a couple different scenarios, but let's say they receive that first payment and they continue to teach for us, and then they leave the district, that money does go with them.
Okay.
However, if they, in this first stretch where they're receiving their designation, if they go somewhere else before we're able to give them that money or that designation, they have to start over. So we want you to stay.
Right.
It's designed for folks.
Yeah.
What percentage would you say, I know you said the number of 86, so what percent of teachers is that?
Oh, goodness.
There's about 440 teachers, so 86, so it's almost about 23%.
There you go, we have some
Our
other
business,
ladies.
yeah, math person.
It's around, it's in the 20s, low 20s.
Okay,
Question similar to that.
I was just curious, cause how many more cohorts do we expect to have?
So right now, or last year, as they kind of planned out the whole process, I think it was 4 or 5 different cohorts.
Okay.
We started with using the STAR as our progress measure because the state couldn't argue, well, you can't use STAR, it's not valid, as they say it's valid. So for other things, we have to use other tests, like our MAP testing or fluency testing, which we have to then show is valid. So it takes a little bit more legwork So we kind of pace the work out so that we can get them all approved and validated, each year, because if you don't validate, you start over. So we want to make sure we're doing it accurately and correctly each time.
I know you guys don't have a crystal ball, but based on benchmarking other districts, of that 86, is there a predicted percentage of what we think will qualify those 86 will get this $20,000?
You never know.
It could be 2 or it could be
Yeah,
86.
it could. It could. The important part is that the T-test score results should correlate with student growth. So as long as all 86 teachers scored as they should on T-test and all of the student growth shows that the students grew in the STAR, then yes, all 86 could get it.
Commission recruitment, do we know how many other districts in the state are doing this? Is the majority of the districts now doing?
I don't have a number, but a lot of our surrounding districts are starting it as well.
So, but in terms of recruitment, right, they're talking about if somebody leaves us, but really, I guess if you work the other way, we could recruit other teachers that are part of this program now that we are part of it as well, right?
Exactly.
Which is all the reason why we need to do this, because we want to be able to always have an opportunity to hire them.
And now that we have a system in place, if we do recruit a teacher in, we have a way to, because their funds will come to us, so we have to have a way to pay them, and we do. We wouldn't have to scramble and find a way to pay them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great program. Any other questions, Board?
Awesome.
Doctor, appreciate you.
Yeah.
Board, if there's no objections, we're gonna move to, E, Student Behavior Management Update, and if we have a guest.
Good evening. Sorry getting this to you late. I just received these images as I was sitting here, but what's in front of you is the band trailer. We're anticipating it being here Thursday. So we are so excited. It's only been a year and some change, but just some images for you to take a look at that you sent over to me a few minutes ago. Good evening, President. We're gonna have a parade. Adam's coming to take pictures. Devin, the band, the drum line, right? Kate, get the cheerleaders and shadows ready. Everybody's excited. Well, good evening, President Hanks, Board of Trustees, Dr. Jackson. Tonight, we're excited to provide you really the first update as it relates to our discipline management plan here at LaPorte ISD. And I've got a special guest that I'll introduce in 1 second, but just to give you some history, we spent an enormous amount of time over this last year, starting back in July of 23, to look at what is our identity as a district, right? What do we look like as it relates to discipline and safety in our classrooms, and how do we equip our teachers to respond to different elements as it relates to behavior? And I think we've done a yeoman's job of getting a framework built out this last year and really starting to train and create a model for our district, and really with the help of Region 4 and Catherine Landry here. So I want to introduce her, and she's going to spend some time kind of walking through phase 1 of what we completed last year, and then kind of our plan as we walk into this year. So Catherine Landry is starting her 25th year as an educator. Catherine taught in inclusive classrooms for 10 years. Her passion for this work began when she implemented the 5 evidence-based practices of classroom management in her own class. The shift in relationships with students was dynamic. Catherine went on to work for the Louisiana Department of Education and Lafayette Parish School System. For the past 10 years, Catherine has served as a behavioral specialist for Region 4 Education Service Center. Welcome, Catherine. We love her. She's a staff member at this point, right?
Thank you. I might need to find an apartment here in LaPorte. Good evening. I am so pleased to be able to share this collaboration and the results that we're seeing so far after year 1. So when we got the call to see how we could support LaPorte ISD, it was a beautiful opportunity to use one of my passions, and it says a lot about me, implementation science. So I want all of you to understand that what we did in terms of implementation and the practices are all research and evidence-based. So the first request was, get us a district team, get us a brain trust of people, representative of the district and of campus level administration, and we had a beautiful team, more than we needed. My question to them as we got started on our first day was, what do we want classrooms to look like and sound like? And I know that sounds like a very basic question, but sometimes we have to start at the base level. Their rich discussion, very rich discussion, lent out into the 5 evidence-based practices of classroom management. And so I took that time and that day to share with them exactly what those 5 things are, which I'm going to share with you as well. So when we talk about the 5, and I'm just for time's sake, I'm going to go 5 EBP if you don't mind. Their rich discussion highlighted these areas, which I was able to then show them these evidence-based. And I'm going to just go a quick review with you of those 5 evidence-based. The first one is expectations and rules. That we have expectations and rules for our classroom, and we have taught them to our students. So a theme that you're going to see as we go through these 5 is proactive prevention. We're asking teachers, what behaviors do you want to see in your classroom rather than what do you not want to see? Proactive prevention is the key to making sure that intervention is done, when we talk about tiers of intervention, that we have a accurate representation of kiddos who need tier 2 or who need tier 3. If we start with intervention rather than prevention, we're overloading those intervention areas. So here are those 5. The first one, expectations and rules, as I just shared with you. The next one is teach, monitor, and reinforce expectations and rules that are aligned with the school expectations. And I apologize, I put them out of order. The first one is maximize structure. So our environment in our classroom is safe. We have active supervision. I can see all kids can see me, okay? And then teach, monitor those expectations and rules, and I'm teaching those rules, not just reciting them on the first day, I'm teaching them actively. The third one is where we combine our academic and behavioral correlation. Actively engage students by providing contextually relevant instruction that includes high rates of opportunities to respond. So this is one of my joys last year, being able to go into the classrooms and model this with our teachers. And it was a great response to that. And one of the most requested professional learning committee meetings that we had on every campus. And then the last one, we need to reinforce students. We need to verbally reinforce students when we see that they're doing what we want them to do. And that verbal reinforcement isn't just good job, but that explicit reinforcement. Thank you so much for holding the door open for your classmates. We really appreciate that. So explicit instruction, both academically and behaviorally. The last one of the 5, a continuum of contextually relevant strategies to respond to inappropriate behavior. So notice in our 5, that's the last one. We're doing all practicing prevention first before we ever talk about responding. So when we went over this particular 5 with that brain trust, the brain trust said, this is how we can support our classroom teachers. By providing them a framework of minor and major behaviors in the classroom and how we want them to respond to those minor and major behaviors. And that rolled into our next big review as a brain trust, and in terms of them adopting a framework, was looking at a response flow chart, which we have provided, LaPorte has provided to every classroom teacher and is detailed in the playbook. And it says, if it's level 1, this is how we're going to respond. My charge was to go in and help teach those responses. If it's level 2, this is how we're going to respond in level 3. So we started off with that prevention mindset. After this adoption of the brain trust of how we were going to move forward, I asked if they would please create a mission and vision statement of what the task was just of that team. And you can find that in the management playbook, which is just such a great narrative and visual representation of the work that brain trust has done. Just for your information and knowledge, when we talk about minor problem behavior, we're talking about minimal disruption to instruction. We're saying kids are going to be kids, right? Kids are going to be kids. My goal is to not let it escalate, respond with a low-level intervention strategy, and keep teaching. But we know kids are going to be kids, right? So we have to look at the other side, major problem behavior. Here are those rules of thumb. Instruction cannot take place. The behavior is such that instruction cannot take place in that moment. We have a kiddo with repetitive minor disruptions, and then harmful to self and others, or illegal, okay? So very clear designation. And just for your FYI, when we talk about the minor, here is a 3-tiered level of how to respond. So again, the charge was in the Ask Region 4 was to go in and help teach what these response levels look like. So teachers now have this in a visual representation in a flow chart, and they had it very clear and explicit how to respond instructions, and this is what that looks like. So the flow chart on your right side of your screen is what LaPorte put in place in terms of that 3-level system of how to respond. And then they also put it into a narrative, one for elementary and one for high. So, what does this look like in a quantitative correlation? Oh, I got ahead of myself. I'm so excited with the data, I jumped ahead. I apologize. Let me just share with you real quick what Region 4's charge was. We came in and we did site visits to campuses, observations and feedback sessions. We supported campus PLCs. We also supported new teacher training and behavior, and also targeted supports for teachers who needed just a little bit more. Okay, here's what that looked like in a quantitative correlation. 2,000, let me make sure I get the right number correctly, a reduction in office discipline referrals by 2,954. We talk about instructional minutes or an instructional day, that's 59,700 minutes of administrator time saved. Quantify that one referral takes about 20 minutes to process. That's how much overall time was saved, where our administrators can be the instructional leaders on our campus. So, in all of my years of doing this work, this is a significant reduction in office discipline referrals. So what does it look like for this year? Sustainability, sustainability, sustainability. We're expanding that coaching into administrators, into those 5 evidence-based practices, and not just what those 5 are, but looking at a tool that they can use to go in and measure those 5, that also completely aligns with T-test and what coaching looks like. We use the model motivational interviewing for the classroom teacher as the coaching model. So provide those to our priority teachers. We will still continue to do that. And we're also going to help the LaPorte compile a virtual library or a compendium of resources to have as they go into that year 3 when we start fading away our supports. So I hope this information has been useful to you, and do you have any questions? Yes, this one. Sure. So there was an overall reduction of 2,954 referrals. So that equates to, we think, 20 minutes for an office discipline referral for an administrator to process. That's 59,700 minutes of time saved. So you can see in the 22-23 data, it was a little, we're between 8,500, and for 23-24, right at between 5,500.
So stay-away agreements we don't track electronically. These are actually office referrals that go into eSchool, which is our SIS. But when there's an action by way of behavior and then we tag some sort of response, it goes in as a referral. Stay-away agreements are tracked paper-wise in folders for students, but we don't upload those into that system. So you wouldn't see that. It's more of an agreement and a monitoring tool. You know, if we know conflict between 2 students, we put that in place because it layers parameters for both parents and the student to say, if you do this, then you're going to get a referral. Does that make sense?
So we're not saying that the number of discipline, the level of discipline or the amount of discipline instances is going down, because my concern is maybe if they're coming to the class, I know we had a presentation done last year where, well, we're changing the way we do discipline. The principal will come to the classroom and talk to them outside in the hall, and then we'll send them back in. That did happen. Well, there's no write-up at that point, so of course, you know, we're not
So
writing that down.
why you see a dip here, and what we did and why we even began this work going back to 22-23 is we had a it wasn't an aligned approach. One campus would handle it a certain way, another campus would handle it. They put a referral in over here, they wouldn't. So getting on the same page and clearly defining what is a minor incident that we need to handle in class. So what has happened, you're seeing more tools for our teachers to be able to handle those students before it gets to a level that they have to call for an administrator. That's why you see such a dip. Now, the benefit of this for an administrator is when I do report or I have an issue, I'm having more time to apply the appropriate discipline. Because what you have happen when you're dealing with a huge number of referrals, oftentimes, sadly, I'm overwhelmed and I'm not fully, addressing it appropriately. I'm only doing the big hitter or whatnot, right? And we see that as part of the way it works. But getting it clearly defined out of the classroom, so when it does come to the point of the administrator, we have to act. Part two of this work is our AP academies. We're spending heavy time with our administrators, training them on what do I do when I get there? How do I respond? We shouldn't be putting a kid back in the class, period. Right? So we're talking through that. And additionally, we've created a district behavior team that's made up of district level folks. So if we've got students that, because we still have our singular incidents that cause issues, that cause us, and we can go and actually support, help that teacher be there, walk the halls, meet with parents, put intervention plans in place with parents. Unfortunately, we got to do that, and we assist the campuses with that. So it's several layers, but we had to get a baseline built on what is our language, what does it look like in the classroom, when I'm an AP, what do I do when I get there, how do I handle it, and then, start to look at that. So year two is more of that kind of thing. Absolutely.
So,
Correct.
have you done this same type of charge at other districts?
Yes.
And so is that number, the 5,500 number, relatively around the same as you're seeing the districts ourselves?
My previous work was a lot of campus level. At a district level, this is our first district level approach, but we still use those implementation science elements in terms of how we were looking and calculating the work. This is significant for a first year. Normally don't see it this high, so very significant. And consistency has been the key. I would like to share one other, and I know the word relationship might sound trite in some ways. As a former classroom teacher, and the experiences and what I'm hearing anecdotally from your campuses is this reduction allows me more time to have that relationship with kiddos. It's allowing the administrator to have more relationship with their faculty and staff. And that's, no matter what these numbers look like, that's the key to getting the academic and student success. Thank you. Sure.
We started some of the work in the spring of 23 into the fall is when we had the playbook put out. We created the committee and got her involved at that time frame. So some of the work was back in the spring of 23 into the fall of 23.
This is our second year work.
This is starting our second year. And part of the work, we love her, but we're phasing her out. And said that way. But that's true, because we've obviously trained the trainer and our APs and our leaders are going to kind of take this work over. It's fluid. Discipline is fluid. It's a moving target, much like the academics conversation. But we've got to have a good foundation to start us, and we've done that. And then we get more focused on what is our plans? How do we, even get more in depth with the kid who acts a certain way in the class? What is our strategies to get in there and handle that? And we've seen success so far, even in last spring, on how we handle those things. But we'll never be perfect. So I'm not going to tell you that we will. But if we're working together, this is multi-department. Everybody that sits out here, even some parents out here, right? They're with us. And we're trying to just continue to develop the best plan for Report ISD.
Yeah, Ms. Landry, I appreciate your effort, and again, I love when someone, you can tell there's conviction in your cause, and you're speaking from the heart, you're vested, and that is evident in your presentation. It was on full display Sunday in Miami. De-escalation techniques were not used in that situation when things got out of hand real fast, and you've got people that have opinions on both sides. But that is what we need more of these days, especially in these situations. And these strategies work. You're almost being a parent. I mean, that's what you're doing. Effectively, is being a parent. And but I appreciate your time and your diligence putting this together, and thank you for your presentation tonight. I apologize for leaving you so far down. I didn't know.
That is perfectly fine. It's a pleasure to be here.
Campuses today.
Just brought my change of clothes. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, we will go back to item D, our counseling update. Thank you, ladies.
Good evening, board. How are you doing tonight? Good. I wanted to come and just highlight some things that we're doing in the counseling department. We're making so many changes and so many improvements, and sometimes we don't get the opportunity to come and speak to you and let you know what's going on in our department. So we're just going to highlight a few of our programs and talk to you about some things that we're doing in regards to our counseling program. So there are three things that I want to kind of talk about. First is kind of our program development that we're doing. We have started really looking at a K-12 system in which we align our lessons and the directives that we do with our students. So we're building a counselor playbook. And so in the counselor playbook, it's kind of like all of our resources and all the things that we need, we're developing that for our counseling staff and support staff, because to have something readily available to students is when they are in need, we need to be able to have that for them. So that's something that we're really developing. We're also going to highlight our support staff that we have here and some of our district resources. So the first thing is talking about character development. Oh, goodness gracious. Character development and the word SEL, it kind of, every time I go to, whether I'm going to do a speech or talk to people, SEL kind of has like a cloud. Like, oh, what is this amoeba of the SEL and character development? Well, basically it's teaching students how to manage your emotions, how to set goals, how to have responsibility, how to have empathy and compassion. And we know that those are very important as far as students and adult behavior. You know, we may have gone to Kroger or before been on the highway and being able to see adults who haven't been able to manage their emotions in some way. So these are things that we start when students come to school. Just like we have TEKS that we teach, and I was so stressed out with all the academics that I was like, oh, so we have counselors. We need to be able to balance out those as well. We need to be able to find time to deliver this instruction to them, because they may not have the environment where they're learning these lessons. And it doesn't just come to us through osmosis. It is something that has to be strategically taught. So that's kind of the word SEL. I know there's been, you know, if you've heard back and forth kind of negative connotations, it's really not negative. It's basically how we interact with the world, and we definitely need to be doing that more. Character education, which most people think that it's something the district just does on their own. However, character education is required by the law. So state of Texas says these are the words, these are the traits that you will adopt. And so some of the characteristics are good citizenship, patriotism, fairness, justice, all the things that we teach. The state says this is required as well. So in our character education programs that we have, this also needs to be taught to our students K through 12. So we know there's a ton of reasons why, and one thing if even on the flip side of, you know, in the workforce, you understand that the academics is very important, but also employability is very important. So we send students out, and they're expected to be able to work in a diverse environment. They're expected to follow the rules, get along with others, be a problem solver. So these are those workforce skills that our community, beyond say, you know, gosh, we're encountering young employees and they're not able to problem solve or reach out for help. They, you know, not show up on time. All these things are aspects that we want to really curtail, because we want them to be successful past high school, especially if you have your own children. You definitely want them to be successful past high school. So it's very important that we build these skills for them post-secondary ready. So how do we do this? We have adopted some new curriculum. So looking at our new curriculum, we have a second step curriculum, which is K through 8. And then we have everyday speech curriculum, which is 9 through 12. So we wanted to make sure that it's a systematic approach to how we're going to implement these lessons, meaning we went through the lessons and the character traits and we aligned them, meaning that District-wide, there's alignment in the lessons that will be given to the students, the information, so that we will all have the same language. Before, we had a different program, and everyone was kind of just, they were following the character traits, but it was kind of on your own. You had your own material. This is a more targeted approach to make sure that we are using the same language, K through 12. One of the lessons that we use is, I'll give you an example, is like a bullying lesson. It talks about see something, say something. And after you do the lesson, kindergarten, 5th grade, and they start to say, oh, see something, say something. It's language that they need to be able to acquiesce and remember and take with them. So I think those are important things. We also have our monthly character traits, and those are what we have had since the past. We changed a couple. And then we really work on how to send this information out in a culture and how to build our climate where we're providing resources to parents as well. So this shouldn't be done in isolation. We want the community to know, we want our parents to know, and we want to provide them with the resources too so they can use the language when they're at home. We had a wonderful communications department, and we are housing all of our resources now on our counseling page. So my first year, I've been here 3 years. So my first year, I was a counselor at DeWalt, and I remember, trying to find the resources or knowing who to call or what papers do I use for a certain, it's kind of was cumbersome. I kind of had to navigate those waters. And we want to make sure that it is very available. Every counselor, whether they've been here or they're new, know what are the resources? How do you get a hold of them? Where are the paperwork? What services can we give your students or family? Who do I contact? And so we built a webpage with those on it, and it's just a screenshot of it. But we're so excited about this. This has been such a wonderful thing for us as well. In regards to our next component, our second component is our support staff. So we really looked at this past year, how do we use our 2 support counselors in our district to really reach as many kids and work with as many kids as we can. How do we put them in front of kids? Because we know that we need the help. And so we restructured their roles and responsibilities. And I know it's kind of hard to read, that's little wording, isn't it? So some of the main things that they do is they provide emotional and mental health services to our high need students. Most of the students who are the ones who need the support ongoing. So it's not just a few sessions and you need ongoing support. Also, wraparound services, so the family, the siblings, getting referrals to outside agencies. So really this is their task. And so they have really embraced that this year. And so it's just been amazing to see that we have 2 of our support staff counselors, and they're actually here today. So we can just maybe see them at the end. Maybe have them stand up there. Yes. So we have our one. Yes. Yay. Erin Webb is housed at the high school. We know there's over 2,000 kids there. She's got a great opportunity to work with students and staff. And Miss New works with our elementary and our Baker and junior high campuses. So she's there to support. So we're freeing her up to be able to do the same thing that Miss Webb does. In addition, and I'm going to go fast, also is some of our program support. This is our district-wide things that and I didn't do slides on each one, so I try to tailor it back a little bit. So our district-wide supports are, we do offer T-Chat. So T-Chat is an online free counseling service for anyone. There's no criteria. You don't have to meet certain, needs. They do psychological evaluations. Interesting. People don't know that. They also provide substance abuse and substance, counseling as well. So they do a lot, and it's completely free. So there's no charge to the student, and any counselor can refer to T-Chat. We also have used Clear Hope Counseling, and so they have been such a blessing to our district. And so we partner with them through a grant that we have, so we partner with them. And last year, they had 6 counselors that came out and implemented like services for our students. So these are the most at-risk students that we have. They have to meet the criteria. We know mental health and we know counseling is so expensive for families. And some do not have the resources and are not going to be able to even provide transportation back and forth. And so they actually bring counselors to our district. And so that's been such a cost benefit too as well. We have our one CYS, so we have our Ms. Rochelle, who's our social worker. So what she does is she can do basic needs, so financial things. So if the house burns down or if there's something major, Ms. Rochelle can go and provide services in those areas as well. She has a lot more leeway with that. One of the, I think, hidden treasures too was our Assistance League of Bay Area. And it's something I didn't know about when I started, but our Assistance League of Bay Area is retired, retired teachers, retired people who volunteer their time to fundraise to provide clothing and supports for students. So last year they gave us in LaPorte $30,000 worth of clothing, and this isn't used clothing. This is you go shop at Target or Kohl's for your clothing. Each voucher, one voucher for the elementary is $150 per kid, and then for secondary it's $200. So what an amazing benefit that we are able to do, and we will receive that again this year. And we've almost used all of our vouchers. So we're asking them for more, but it's okay.
Well, I think, I just got a call last week that I'm gonna be the advisor for the Assistance League for Bay Area, for LaPorte. And they want to do a lot more for LaPorte, so.
Good, we're out of vouchers.
We were really.
Can we talk later? Not now, but.
But they are really excited to do a lot more for LaPorte.
Yes. And then our very last program that I want to talk about is our Communities in School. So our Communities in School program is where we have the Communities in School workers on our campus, and they provide academic support, behavioral support, attendance. They also provide family support. They also do parent engagement. And in your board packet, hopefully you have these 2 handouts. So they don't have 2 handouts. That's okay. That's okay. So you could have. So we have. So actually, and I will get these to you. So anyway, we have our Communities in School. The opportunities that they have, they actually provide services to all of our campus. Their service hours of last year were 9,308. They had 312 male students and 414 female students. So a ton of students that they saw, that they helped, and they provided services for. We also have tonight Ms. Sherry Bird, who's our program director of CIS. She's here. And she has been such a wonderful partner in working with us. And we just want to continue to update you guys and let you know kind of what's going on in the counseling world, and we appreciate it so much. So.
Great presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Board, we will move to item 8, our consent agenda. The board will now proceed with our consent agenda. Unless removed from the consent agenda, items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. A, determine and approve any consent agenda items. B, approve board meeting minutes. 1, regular board meeting minutes, August 13th, 2024. Special team building minutes, August 29th, 2024. C, receive principals reports. 1, Early Childhood Center. 2, Bayshore Elementary. 3, College Park Elementary. 4, Heritage Elementary. 5, Jenny Reed Elementary. 6, LaPorte Elementary. 7, Leo Rizzuto Elementary. 8, Lomax Elementary. 9, James H. Baker 6th grade campus. 10, LaPorte Junior High. 11, Lomax Junior High. 12, LaPorte High School. 13, DeWalt High School. D, receive financial reports for July 2024. E, receive human resources report.
Cool.
F, approve budget amendment. G, approve employment of professional staff.
Cool.
H, approve amended 2024-2025 Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support System. List of teacher appraisers. I, approve amendments to the 2024-2025 Report Independent School District Student Handbook. J, approve purchase of special education contracted services. K, approve purchase of special education and general education school buses. L, approve purchase of vehicles for maintenance and nutrition departments. M, approve second reading and adoption of TASB local policy revision for FFAC local. N, adopt a resolution number 2024-13 to declare extracurricular status of 4-H and approve appointment of Harris County Extension agents as adjunct faculty in purpose of supervising LPISD students participating in designated 4-H activities. All right, read back the consent agenda. Mr. Martin?
Mr. President, consent items for approval are item A, B, C, D, F, H, I, J, K, L, M, and N.
Okay. I'll take a motion to approve our consent agenda. Need a second? Call for the vote. And it is unanimous. Thank you, board.
They need to go there, so.
We'll go to our first pulled item. Who did we pull first? B. Mason?
Is there a way to separate who is leaving for athletics and why? I guess we want to see which subs do we have at the high school that are actually gone, for teachers that are actually gone, and which ones are at a sporting event that day.
Right, so those would be coded for school business. And so when we look at our sub report every morning, we can see, you know, if they're out on local personal leave or if they're on school business, which would be the school and either the teacher coach themselves or the secretary goes ahead and enters that into the system as school business.
But on this report,
On this particular report.
Yeah, I mean, not for this month, but in the future, is there a way to separate that out?
I
so
believe we
see?
can. Yes, I believe we can.
Because that number, I think, concerns everybody. I know we have so many teachers at the high school, but
But
last
you
year was
also have
100
a lot
and
of
something,
coaches
this year's
too.
800, so
Yes.
if they're out for school
And
business,
it's
we hate to make
cyclical,
it
you
look
know, you
bad.
have a sport, that, like, you know, for instance, golf or, you know, tennis that kind of is like an isolated, but they're gone a lot, you know,
Yeah.
because they have tournaments during the school day, so I think that would be helpful and we can.
Yeah, we don't want to be critical if they're actually gone for that.
Right, right.
Not that we're ever critical, but.
Board, any other questions? All right, I seek a motion. Seek a second. Call for the vote. Unanimous, thank you very much. Go to Mason's next item.
Yes, what is this item? There's no attachment to it. Approval of.
Right, and so what we did was we just prepared that as an agenda item in the event that we, you know, we're still recruiting for a couple of teaching vacancies, so in the event we found an applicant and a campus wanted to pursue that, we would be able to have Dr. Jackson bring that in for you.
So it's just a non-item.
So yes,
For the
It's a
nothing.
just in case item.
yes.
Placeholder.
I make a motion to approve nothing. Otherwise.
I do
it's
seek a
item G.
motion there.
I approve item G,
I seek a second. Call for the vote.
saved a lot of money on that.
All right. Thank you, board. All right. We're going to move to, our next item. Item 9, action and or discussion items. A, discuss and take possible action and additional district insurance contribution. Justin,
I'll
thoughts
move
on
to,
that?
table that until our January meeting.
Okay,
Second.
got a second by Mason, we'll call for the vote. Alright, it was unanimous, we will table that. Thank you, board. Let's go to item 9, B. Golly, I get up very, very early, can you tell? It's my bedtime. B, adopt a resolution number 2024-14 regarding tax rate adoption of $0.9739 per 100 of assessed valuation. Board, is there any discussion? No questions? Comments? No? And I move the board recognize ongoing financial impacts occasioned by the disaster declarations issued by Governor Abbott due to the January 24th, 2023 tornado, which has necessitated an increase in expenditure of money to respond to the disaster. An election is not required under Texas Tax Code 26.08A to approve the tax rate adopted by the governing body for the year in which the disaster occurred. I further move that resolution number 2024-14, adopting a tax rate of 0.7220 for maintenance and operations of 0.2519 for debt service be approved. I seek a motion. Need a second? Second by Ms. Fletcher, call for the vote. It is unanimous. Thank you, board. Everything's so wordy. All right. Board, I do want to take, I know, almost there. But I do want to make a comment to the public that we do strive to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars by keeping the total tax rate flat for this year. The tax rate allocates 72 cents for maintenance and operations and 25.19 for debt service for a total of 97.39 per 100. I want to go on the record to state Porte ISD has one of the lowest rates of school districts in East Harris County. Despite the flat rate, rising property valuations may lead to higher taxes for some homeowners. Let me be clear, crystal clear. The Porte ISD Board of Trustees can only control the tax rate, not your property valuation. The appraisal district determines your property values. I also want to go on record and say that this tax rate is the lowest in over 14 years in this district. I am proud of that. I think we've done a good job, and we do try to be good stewards of the money that the stakeholders entrust to us. We don't take that lightly. But again, we do not control your property values. That's your public service announcement for tonight. We'll move on to the final item in our action of C. Adopt resolution number 2024-15 regarding the certified tax appraisal roll. Board, is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Comments, questions? Okay. I move to adopt board resolution 2024-15 for the 2024 certified tax appraiser rolls totals pursuant to Texas Property Tax Code. Seek a second? Second. I call for vote. It is unanimous. Wonderful, thank you, board. We'll move to item 10, action on closed session items. There were no items to take action. We will move to item 11, closing comments of the Board of Trustees and the Superintendent. Melissa? Go to the floor.
Sorry. No, I'm really grateful for a great start, and my kids are loving it so far. So, thank you to all of our teachers and administrators who are really starting off this really strong. Looking forward to everything to come this semester and the rest of the year.
I echo that sentiment. I just say that it's really refreshing to see a lot all the presentations and the things, the software and the communication, the new things that are going on in this district that I think are bearing fruit already. Positive, a lot of positive remarks on some things going on. First couple weeks of school year, as we know in the past, can be chaotic, but I'm not saying we didn't have issues, but I just, it seems like this is definitely, I wouldn't think it going a lot smoother. And that's a testament to all the things you guys have put in place, all the staff that have really worked hard behind the scenes. So we appreciate you guys and the work you're doing and pray that it continues to be smooth, and that we just continue to be a safe place for these kids to come learn.
Agreed.
Well, I'm gonna get emotional. As y'all know, a couple of weeks ago, we lost a great lady, Miss Tanya Angelo. And I know most of you know who she is. I know many of you don't know her or didn't know her personally, but she was an amazing woman that probably touched the lives of thousands and thousands of students. I think the only people that could brag that they've done that would be a football team coach, because just the number of people on the team. I want to first thank Stacy for making sure that we got the account set up so that appreciate that. And just a real quick thing, we all know how great our musicals are. I don't have to sit here and tell you that. But I do want you to know something about Miss Angela that a lot of people didn't know. Her community standards were very high. Over the years, every year, it seemed like when it came time to pick the musical, somebody would go, "Why don't you do Grease?" She said, "I'm not going to do Grease because it teaches that a girl has to turn bad to get the guy. That's not the message we want to send. Why don't you do West Side Story? It's dark. I don't want to do that every day. I want the theater to be a happy, fun place for kids to come." And when it came to one-act play, we have watched over the years. I was a one-act play contest manager for a number of times, so I've seen hundreds of plays. And over the years, I've watched plays go from being fun, educational theater to being dark, murder, incest, rape, and some other things that I'm not even going to go on public record saying that high school theater departments have put on the stage for one-act play. And let me just tell you this, you're not winning a one-act play if you don't put those things on the stage. And Sonia Angelo and the people that she has mentored and raised, that we are fortunate enough to have still working with our kids, have stuck by those community standards. And I will tell you, as a mom of someone whose kiddos participated in one act, and no, we didn't get all the way to state, I was always extremely proud of what LaPorte did. Even though we might not have gotten out, I was so happy that we put on the stage what we put on the stage and not what some of those other people did. And so I just want to applaud Sonia Angelo, and thankfully we still can carry forward because we still have an Angelo. But anyway, I just wanted to let you all know that because that's not something people really talk about that much with her. So thank you.
Wow, I'm gonna follow that. Thankful for a safe and not bumpy start to school, I guess we should call it. It was a smooth start to school. Wishing everybody safety and happy, healthy blessings as we move forward. And looking forward to all the events that are always going on through all your schools. I love to read your reports on each one of your campuses because it lets us know what's going on and what's an opportunity for us to come and see what the kids are doing. And anyway, just appreciate everybody's hard work.
I don't have much. I wasn't going to say anything at all other than Karen brought up a good point that I was blessed to have both Miss Angelos do my one-act plays in 7th and 8th grade, and that was a true honor to spend such one-on-one time with her. And I remember one time, if you don't know, I like to be in the front of things. And I remember my first year in Oklahoma, we were about to go to dinner, and she pulled me over and said, "Mason, you know that I see you weasel up to the front every time we do this number." I said, "Well, they can't see me where you put me." And she said, "I know, you're not. You need to stay there." And that was a very humbling experience that I have appreciated, and I haven't got the lesson fully yet, but I did appreciate it. So I just wanted to share that.
I definitely won't talk about that woman because she definitely had a profound impact on my life. I won't be able to get through it. But I do want to acknowledge, last week we had a false alarm at the high school. And we got the message out and what have you. I have a daughter there, and she offers comments all the time, but not of stuff like this. And she came home and you could tell she was really affected by what she experienced when the false alarm went off. And she said, "Dad, it startled me because I was in the hall," and she goes, "It was so clear and you could just hear the doors dum dum dum, and immediately she heard a voice and it was a counselor saying, 'Come in here,' and it was so calm. And then she saw Mark going down the hall with some urgency, and she goes, it was just like immediate, like it was like within 10 seconds. And she goes, it just felt calm. And you know, we thought it was a drill, and they're like, this isn't a drill, and didn't know what to believe or what to think. But to see her calm when she came home after experiencing that, and obviously the day before was Georgia, and you know, it as a parent, it makes you really kind of take, you know, notice, and obviously what we do up here and the efforts that have been put in place. There's nothing truer to that kind of test when no one knows it's going to happen, and to hear how well the campus reacted, the administrators, the counselors, obviously our SROs. That's refreshing, and it's a great comfort knowing that my child is walking those campuses, and you know, so kudos to everybody involved there. Tomorrow's obviously a somber day, September 11th. I know we'll all remember that, and it just makes us not take anything for granted, frankly. So again, what everybody has said on this board, yes, kudos to you. But I want to take a second and just acknowledge this board. These six, and Russell also, who's going to be here, he had to do double headers tonight. They do a lot of work behind the scenes, in the shadows. A lot of phone calls, a lot of research, a lot of just listening. And I'm super, super proud to be associated with everybody up here and the work that's happening. And I know I sound like a broken record, but it doesn't make it any less true. We are doing some remarkable things as a district and as a community. I'm super, super proud of what's being done here. It is genuine, it's heartfelt, and you can really see the buy-in from everybody involved. So just keep up the good work. People are taking notice, and I'm just super, super proud to be associated with everybody here. So, lazy. That's lazy right there. But we'll get out of here early. It is this meeting is adjourned.
Wait a minute. No. Call me out. Now you call me out.
Poke the bear.
He poked the bear. You know, and I won't get teary-eyed about it, but I do know, and I do want to go on record and say thank you to this board, because I know that you support me behind the scenes, and when there's criticisms about the school district and decisions that we're making, you're on the front line. You get that first. And so I appreciate the fact that you're standing by me and standing by us as we're trying to lead this school district. I know you get some flack for some of the decisions that we make. We don't make every decision right, but I promise you, from here to heaven and back again, we make decisions that we believe are in the best interest of youngsters. We do, and so thank you for really having my back when we don't make the right decisions sometimes, and when things don't go well, when there is a bumpy ride, because that happens sometimes. So I do want to say that I appreciate, and I don't have to wait for January to say that. I really do appreciate our board. And I also want to say, since you poked the bear, the supports that and the success that we have does not happen without the people that are sitting out there. Those campus principals, those district support staff, those deputies, those executive directors, those directors, and all the folks that are out there right now. It takes us all, and we all at this level, and I say it at the ad building all the time, we only exist to support the what? The campuses. And so I think us doing those things are ultimately helping our children be the absolute best. And that's why everybody's looking at what's going on in the court. So thank you for that. Thank you for that privilege.
Awesome. Well, we'll still get out of here early, and it's 9:04. This meeting's adjourned.